Welcome back to Money with Mission. This is your host, Dr. Felicia Fro, and I'm glad to be back. We missed a couple weeks traveling. I'll be talking about that a little bit more as we come up. Today I have Randy and Janna Hubbs. Before I get into that, remember that Money with Mission podcast is sponsored by Money with Mission. That is where we believe every woman should have the financial ability to walk away from any job or relationship that is not in her best interest. To that end, we introduce people on the podcast who are helping women, men, professionals have passive income away from their 9 to 5, 7 to 7, however long you work in a day job, so that you can have options in your life, giving you that ability to walk away from something that is not serving you. Again, to that end, today we have Janna and Randy Hubbs. They are the founders of Legacy Investors US. It stands at the forefront of solving the special needs housing crisis in the U.S. They are leveraging over 170 years of combined experience in education and real estate investing and have developed a course named Solving the Special Needs Housing Crisis in the U.S. that bridges the gap between real estate investment and social impact. That is what we are all about here, investing for your own bottom line, your own financial bottom line, and improving the world, having that social impact. With their legacy investors and solving the special needs crisis, parents learn to secure affordable, suitable homes for their loved ones with physical and mental disabilities, while investors discover a profitable, stable market that outperforms the standard rental housing model and most short-term rentals. Together, all of us are creating a legacy of inclusion and support for the special needs community. Janna and Randy are seasoned real estate professionals with over 45 years in residential income properties. They manage investing housing specialists in Kennewick, Washington, and have invested over 475 units domestically and internationally. They have backgrounds in education and special education and are focusing on their legacy project, solving the special needs housing crisis in the U.S. Their combined expertise uniquely qualifies them to guide others in developing these vital properties. I've known Randy and Janna for a very long time, and they are real. What they say is what they mean. I have never seen them step out of what I see them to be and who I see them to be, and that is people with integrity, people who are out to do what they say they're trying to do, and that is improve the world. And we are all about that here at Money with Mission. Welcome to the show.
Be the change you want to see. Make a difference by giving your money a purpose, a mission to do good. Welcome to Money with Mission, where we show you how to create passive income so that you have options for how to work and how to live your life while leaving a legacy of positive social impact.
Your legacy investors, that's the name of the company, right?
We actually call it legacyinvestor.us, and that was intentional because the tagline, we're solving the special needs housing crisis in the U.S., and then together all of us can get together and make a difference. So
I was putting that together. As I was reading, I was like, this is on purpose, I think. This us purpose.
Yeah.
That was one of the clever things we did.
Yeah, we're shifting a little bit too, because with what we're doing, because we're really trying to reach out and help parents and guardians, because what happens far too often is once your child is discovered as having some kind of a disability, whether right now the common thing that we see is autism, but Downs or anything else. Downs is much more obvious at birth, but once they're diagnosed, mom and dad, if they stay together, it's just this big life-changing thing. Of course, a lot of people find joy in the special needs kid, but it 10X's what they have to do in terms of medications and special schooling and different kinds of therapeutic intervention needs to happen. So there's all those things. And oftentimes, then they may have two other children in the family that don't have special needs, and they're running around with their hair on fire. And next thing, the kid's out of school, and they're not 18 to 21, and they've done nothing. And in fact, they don't feel that anyone, and to a certain degree, no one can take better care of my kid than me. Well, yeah. That's great, but how's that working out for you when you're 50 years old?
Your relationship with your partner, your relationship with your other children, your relationship with anything else outside of your life, outside of your family, because that special needs child could take up your life and be your life depending on how much what their needs are.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, and then we're just going to jump right in because we just did. What made you guys decide to look at this in particular, special needs housing? I know it was you did the real estate, so that got you to the real estate, but why special needs? Why not elderly? Why not recovering addicts? Why special needs?
I'll let Janna tell that story because I think it really starts out early with her. But what motivated us actually, and you might have been on that summit, was 2012 when Robert Kiyosaki brought his whole entourage, and Josh and Lisa Lannon, who wrote that book, The Social Capitalist. We saw what they were doing with sober living. It sounds like that's exactly what you're doing right now. And they built a very, very successful business with that. But more importantly, they were really making a difference out there. And that's what they were passionate about. So Jan and I were watching all this go down. And that's when we said, we need to do this. And then we kept doing other things and buying apartments and luxury resort properties.
I gotta say something. It was not it couldn't have been 2012. Was it?
That was 2012. It's been a while, huh?
They were my inspiration also. It was like, oh, I don't have to just buy stuff to make money. I could actually make a difference somewhere. And that's honestly I didn't get to Money with Mission for a while, but that's when I really started looking at the assisted living homes and that kind of thing. So I can't believe that was 2012.
Yeah.
It was.
I spent my whole life in special education as an educator and administrator. I used to babysit when I was young. We had a little guy across the street that had Down syndrome, severe Down syndrome. And I used to watch him and do different activities with him. And so it's just been a core part of my life. I think that's what God put me here to do, was to help with the special needs population. It's just been a natural piece for me.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'd known that. I know you guys both are educators. And the housing part that I would have never thought about, and I guess because that's not what I look at, but that once the kids are not kids anymore, these children grow up to adults, and now what? And now this is where you guys are picking that up.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Your first job, Janna, I think was a big inspiration because you taught life skills, and walking in as a first-year teacher, you just basically took over. I remember everyone's head was turning because you completely rearranged the classroom, and it was all about living independently after high school. And it was all, you've worked in all areas of transition. You can talk more about that than I, but you knew the problem that we saw was that these now young adults are going back at home in mom and dad's place, and in many cases sitting in a bedroom playing Xbox until they're in their 40s, and mom and dad are in their 60s, and now they can no longer take care of them. The waiting lists in every city and every state's 15 to 20 years.
Well, and what I did with the classroom is I turned it into a functional classroom so that as they learned to read and do math and write, it was about functional activities, measuring and woodworking, various plumbing and woodworking. And so they had to use math, they had to write things out and read directions and all of that kind of stuff. So it was a functional classroom, basically.
And I think part of the thing is that many people don't think that people with special needs actually can be functional in society. We don't necessarily think to that, and everybody's down on accommodations and DEI and whatever, but this is real. People need just need a little bit of help to be able to function and be a contributing part of society, a little bit of help.
Right.
And this is, I think, what we are all seeing is that if we do just a little, we get much more production out of not just somebody with special needs, but everybody.
Right. Well, it's maintaining that independence and that sense of community. And that's even with our elderly population. I used to tell my mom, you need to put your shoes on. You need to dress yourself, and do not dress my mother when she was in an assisted living house. But I said, I don't want to take her independence away. It's so important to maintain independence, and especially for those with a disability.
Yes.
Because we're proud. They are so happy when they can finally do something. And it's like, wow, look at what I just did. Creates that sense of accomplishment.
and our lack of patience and watching and waiting. Because remember when you were teaching your kids how to tie their shoes, like, oh my God, just let me do it.
Yeah, I mean, you hit a chord when you were saying, as far as I think a lot of people don't understand that, and particularly right now, I think the most visible disability that people are coming to discover is, well, you being in the medical field for the longest time, dementia was always called Alzheimer's. Well, a lot of people, there's tons of different forms of dementia. My father had aphasia. He knew what was going on. We just couldn't get words out, but we called it Alzheimer's. And so same thing here is we have what was the spectrum. And so some form of, is it autism or what? They're still trying to come up with various labels, but so many of these people that get diagnosed, it's like 1 in 5 now. It's crazy that we're seeing. We're ignoring that, and we're not realizing that some of these people are super high functioning. So some of our, you can look at someone like Elon Musk. He's on the spectrum a little bit.
So I'm going to push back a little bit. It is not a little bit, but intelligent man. There's something else there.
Yeah. Exactly. But I mean, there's so many people that are diagnosed on that are on different levels. But the thing of it is, so many individuals can function just fine in society if they've got a place. And that was the thing that we also noticed as real estate investors is once they get a place, they don't move. Many of them don't like change. That is one of the sidebars that we've seen with this population is that once they're settled. And so that was the big thing that we saw as a real estate investor, that your ROI goes through the roof because the average make-readies now are, well, we've had 4, we're in a big one right now, but we've had 4 make-readies and they've all been in excess of 10 grand. And so when you have the average tenancy of 3 years for a single family home and 2.5 years for an apartment, you're going to have 4 make-readies in 10 years, whereas we're going on 6 years right now with 1 move out. That's it.
So make ready, guys, means get the property ready for the next person that's going to move in.
Yeah.
And every time somebody moves out of your place, you got to paint the walls, clean the carpet, fix whatever they broke that you didn't know was broken before you got there. And I promise you there are things. Then comes the next people who may or may not stay for however long. And what Randy and Janna are saying is that with the special needs community, those folks move in and they are there. They're not moving in and out, changing into the next house in a year or 2 years because they don't like whatever. Let's talk about the houses that you buy, or what kind of property are we looking at to house special needs? And are we talking about mental deficiency? I want to be politically correct, but is it a mental disability, physical disability, both? Are you taking all comers into the properties? Do you have to have a supervisor there to make sure things are going well and taking medicine? Give us the whole outlay of what that looks like.
Sure. Well, yeah, it's mental and physical disabilities. As a matter of fact, Janna covers that in our course as far as, really goes through and outlines. We try to really stay focused on that particular population, although this model works for all kinds of things. But, there's battered women shelters that we see. There's drug and alcohol rehab, which you're very much a part of. And there's wounded warriors, and you can just go on and on and on. And the homeless problem that we certainly have as well. And so we're focusing on this niche, this population, because that's really where Janna's experience is all the way through from day one. We did 2 things. We started investing in real estate because we were brand new teachers, and we knew we didn't want to retire on a teacher's salary. So we carried that with us through, but we were able
I couldn't.
Yeah, and we focused on our careers, and it was wonderful. I was out of the rat race by the time I was 41 years old, but I stayed there until 10 years ago. It's going to be 10 years. I know, but yeah, and I'm definitely not retired. We just shifted. We went full-time real estate.
It's interesting when people say you're retired, like, I don't know what that word means. I'm like, what does that mean? Like, I don't do that thing anymore, but I don't know that if I'm retired. Like, I know I've known you guys for a long time, but I didn't realize it was that long. Wow.
Yeah, for me, it was 2015. So yeah, or Janna was the year before. So you're going on 11.
And you, what kind of teacher were you?
Oh,
Yeah, I was high school band director for 8 years, and then college, not only band director, but just I taught music. I got my dream job. And so, like I say, I loved the college students, made me young, kept me young all the way through that. And we had great bands. I had great administrative support, all that stuff. So I I would be whistling on the way to work Monday mornings. It didn't matter. Never had that feeling of, oh, I'm dreading my job. So it was the best career.
And you still invested in real estate so that you could leave your job or leave your thing if you wanted. That's one thing I want people to understand is that just because you're getting money passively or some other kind of way doesn't mean you have to leave your job. You don't even start it because you're going to leave your job.
Yeah.
It's like, just give yourself some options. Just
Right.
have the option. Or if you know you're a teacher and you love teaching and it's like, but I can't stop doing this. Someday I'm going to want to stop. I got to have something coming in besides the potential promise of the pension that you're going to get as a teacher. It's like, I want to live better than that. Now you have some different ways to do it. What teacher were you, Janna?
Special education at all levels. I've worked in from birth to 21, basically. And then resource room, self-contained life skills, medically fragile. I did in-home therapy in the rural districts and traveling around and setting up programs in their natural environment, what I refer to as natural environment, which is the home, and help parents be able to engage with the different therapies while they were still doing their own job. Meaning if they were in the kitchen, how do you incorporate these language and motor while you're in the kitchen with Johnny No-No or Susie Sweetwater or in the bathroom or wherever you are, making sure that they do repetitive education for their child who had a disability. And and then I was administrator for a large school district and tried to incorporate those very same things and instill those into the teachers that were part of my program.
Okay, so you're talking to people who know what they're talking about. Okay, Randy and Janna, both real estate investors for, I forgot how many years now, long time.
46 years.
46 years. Janna, over 30 years with special needs. This is not, they didn't just come on this because it makes money. This, as Janna said, is what she feels like she was put here to do. And they are doing it. And I am very, very happy that this is happening. So let's talk about the housing crisis, because I asked the question. We'll get back to the question, you guys, I promise. The housing crisis in general, and then the housing crisis for special needs. So you guys talk about that on your website about this is not an option anymore. We've got to do something.
Yeah, people have had we've had our heads in the sand, and there's very, very little government support for this. And so what government support there is, basically you've got SSI and SSDI. So the supplemental security income and the supplemental disability income, both coming through the Social Security Administration. And so when an individual is now out of the school system, then they are given, and of course, by that time, these are individuals that maybe went all the way through the system. They don't get the disability income. The disability side is for someone who's had maybe a work accident. So keep in mind, some of our individuals with disabilities may be in the 40s or 50s, and a car accident causes a traumatic brain injury or a loss of, we had one of our residents lose both legs in an industrial accident and had to move her into a different facility that was more compatible to that. But that average check is about $993 a month for the SSI, which is poverty level. And so mom and dad usually get that as now their rent check that allows them to buy the food and whatever. But it's really designed for housing and clothing. But it's, as today's market rents being what they are, and that makes it still unaffordable for like even 3 functioning individuals in a 3-bedroom home to pull their money together and make it work. So, and don't get me wrong, there's the way this has been handled and what we have so far, and there's a lot of great facilities, a lot of great examples. It's all done through nonprofit, but as you and I know, there's only so much money. And so nonprofits are great, but they're very limited in terms of the money they have available to them. And so our whole idea went back to the Josh and Lisa Lennon is, how can we come up with a model that people can prosper financially with, and also make this model work to where these people can be housed? And so that's, I think you asked earlier, what kinds of homes? Well, anything works. We have people in our 1-bedroom apartments and mainstreamed with everyone else, but then we also have people we have 2 group homes that are 5 bedrooms for children with disabilities. It's ran, and all of these things are ran through agencies. And I guess like, the big question a lot of people have is, I don't know anything about this. How to do it? And it's all you have to do is be a landlord. Really, our model, we don't promote. And of course, you were involved with RAL, and so you can own that business, and then you're in charge of you getting everything in place. Well, these agencies are out there. They're in every city and every state, and it's a matter of you become that facilitator of making these. But no one wants to rent to them. Mom and pop don't understand that, and so they don't realize that an agency is going to take care of all these other things that are needed. And that's no cost to you. You're not monitoring the agency. You're strictly the landlord. And in most of our cases, the agency's paying that rent. Because you were talking about independence, some of the agencies want that individual to sign the lease and these kinds of things. But basically, it's a matter of just changing your demographic of who you're renting to. So if any of your existing rental properties work, manufactured homes, mobile homes, like I say, apartment units, and all the way up to condos. So anyone who owns existing property can immediately start housing it. And like I said, then your ROI starts as an investor going through the roof. But what's more exciting for us is that we don't own, now we have students doing this in their own areas, and all the different models work, syndication, but the joint venture model works with this really well, because you maybe pull together a group of other parents and guardians, and then you collectively join in and purchase a property. And our idea is certainly what we're really pushing on the parents and guardians is, when you discover your child has got a disability, you've got maybe 17, 18 years before they end up out of the school system, where you could be putting that money into a rental property for now. And when they become of age, you've got control over that, or you pool together with other parents and guardians and their friends and that they went through their whole system with. Yeah, that's who they want for roommates anyway. That up and they're ready to go.
Right.
So it's Janna's specialty. You can talk about that, Janna. Transition, I think, is the big thing, because she worked on early birth 6, and then they're in the transition into the school system, and they transition into middle school, and then transition into high school. And then they need to transition on into life. And that's a huge thing right there.
So you talked about agencies. You talked about you're just the landlord and there's an agency. So do parents of special needs children contract or find an agency that will help them do the things that need to be done? And that agency, and they're like, okay, we want Johnny to live on his own. And the agency now finds some place for him to live. And that's if you own one of these properties, how they can come into your property, how this person comes to your property. Is that what happens? Okay.
Yeah,
Yes.
Janna, I think you should answer that.
Yeah, and finding the agencies is a little bit of a skill set, and I walk through how to find the agencies and navigate, because they don't just say, we're working with special needs adults in a community. And so you have to kind of navigate, and it's a referral-based process. But people are usually set up through Division of Developmental Disabilities or administration, and together with the DDD and the agency, that's where the link is, in the sense of supporting individuals with disabilities and having them qualify and then placing them. The agency is responsible typically for merging people together. So, because not everybody's a good fit for the same house, of course. And so they help to navigate that whole system. And then they do a lot of the repairs. Sometimes they're there 24/7. Sometimes they're there just once or twice a week, just to help with money management, food, shopping.
The agency folks are there sometimes 24/7, sometimes intermittently. Okay.
It just depends on the needs of the individual. And so that's where it's nice.
So you don't as the owner of the property, you don't have to make sure there's a supervisor or someone there to make sure. So then is it the owner's job to make sure the proper accommodation is there, the halls are wide enough, the doorways are wide enough? Or did you say that sometimes the agency comes in and does that themselves?
Well, most houses will work. Now, sometimes there's accommodations that need to be dealt with, and those can be done through different funds through the agency that they have resources for, handrails or that type of thing. Or there's different facilities in certain markets where I'm trying to think of the name of it, where they have special equipment, handrails and ramps and various things like that that people can access for free. And so anyway, we've got in our contract where people can make some modifications to the house, and it's up to the landlord or to the owner once the modification's done, if they do happen to move out, that they need to restore it unless the landlord wants or the owner wants it back to the original condition or wants to leave it the same. And so we've had people put up plywood because there's maybe some aggressive behavior or outbursting behaviors and things like that. And then once they move out, then if they do move out, then they need to restore it back to the original condition. And then a lot of times there's things that go on. They're watching your water and leaks and various things like that. So the tendency there is that they're taking better care of your property than a lot of residents that are just typically developing.
Renters, they're just normal renters. Yes.
Right.
And that's actually what we found, because we're renting and we have a house in Arizona that we're renting to agency called Oxford House that houses recovering addicts. And they take care of, like, we had to do some modifications to the house to start out with, make more bedrooms, and we split some rooms up to make more bedrooms. But all the easy stuff, clogged toilets, lights, all that they take care of it. Yard work, all that, they take care of all of that stuff.
Yeah. No, it's beautiful.
That's what we found too, because we were landlords for close to 30 years until we switched everything over to property management. And I know there's a lot of people that want to do that landlording here, and we're in Washington State. And so that has just gotten so crazy. I wouldn't recommend that to anyone to be a landlord here. And I'm a designated broker. We owned a property management company, and I won't take my life in my own hands that way. But this model does work for landlords, and sometimes people have a heart to do that, but Janna serves oftentimes, and we have other people that serve as that liaison between a property management company. First of all, sometimes you have to talk to the property management company to educate them that this is a good fit, and not every property management company is a good fit, because they basically fall into two categories: those that are in it for their profit, and at whatever owner's expense that might be, with fees and things like that. But then the great property management companies that we like, and what we modeled ours after, was you're in business to make great money for the owner, but you're going to do that by providing amazing customer service. So the whole idea is save the owner money. Well, if you've got a property management company that has that as their mantra, then this is the perfect model, because they're not going to be turning units all the time. They're collecting all the releasing fees and the make-ready costs because they got a work crew to do that and all of those things. So that's the thing that we found is it's just like Janna saying, it's a matter of just systems in places. But we had the very first group home, we had to spend about $1,100 on it, because the third bedroom had the air handler and the hot water tank in the bathroom, just they're exposed along one wall. So all we had to do is box it in, put a couple louvered bifold doors on it so the air handler could breathe. And then we put a locking mechanism on it. And the agency that takes care of them said, hey, this is perfect. And that's all we've had to do there. We've done very little modifications. And we're looking, like I say, in our own portfolio, on the ones that we help the agencies manage that belong to other people in our own market, we're pushing 30 units, and no one's having to do much of anything. The very first thing we ran into was just recently, and Janna's been dealing with both the agency and property management company on, is they want a stand-up shower, and they wanted to pull the tub out, and they're willing to pay for it. And it's like the bids that came in that they're looking at, these things are $6,000, $7,000. They're paying for it. And so, but the owner reserves the right to have that cheap around put back in if they want. And like my buddy who was in that business kitchen, he says, well, basically those 30 by 60 bathtubs are used by usually no one over the age of 12. So, the little kid, they're great. The stand-up shower is a great asset, and this guy's getting that improvement for nothing.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Money with Mission. I am Dr. Felicia Froh, a urologist. At Money with Mission, our vision and mission is that every woman have the financial ability to walk away from any job or relationship that is not in her best interest. It took me a while to come to that. Many of you may know my story, some do not. Briefly, my mother lived in a domestic violence relationship that could have killed her. She did not leave due to lack of financial ability. Fast forward many years later, I finished medical school residency and I'm in practice. And about 5 years in, I realized that this was not the last thing that I am here to do. I even realized I didn't want to do it anymore, but I had no choice. I was stuck, just like my mother, both of us handcuffed to situations that we did not want to be in. I had my student loans. I had my family to take care of. Again, lack of financial ability to leave a situation that was not in my best interest. Over the years, I learned so much about investing and passive income that I am now here to share that with you because it is imperative to me. I feel it so strongly that no woman be stuck, that every woman have the financial ability to walk away from any job or relationship that is not in her best interest. To that end, I've developed the LIVE, L-I-V-E framework to get us there. L is for learn, I is for invest, V is for value your time, value your energy, and E is for enjoy. The bottom line of everything, we're doing it for enjoyment. Over the next several weeks, months, years, as long as this podcast is going, we will direct things into that framework so that you can see how that fits. You can see where the guests are on that path and hopefully learn a few things about yourself. Learn where you are. Learn what you don't know. Open your box up a little bit so that you can see things that you did not see. You'll be amazed at where it takes you. Thanks for listening. Let us know how you feel about these podcasts. I really, really would encourage you to subscribe. It helps us get great guests. I really would encourage you to leave messages. Let us know what you're thinking. Nothing else. If you want to hear about something, let me know. I'm happy to oblige. I have some folks that are texting me, letting me know, hey, I love that last podcast. Just let me know. Let's do some more of that. Really, really appreciate your feedback. Thanks so much. Here's the show. So I want to make sure I'm understanding. So there's the owner of the property, then you have a property manager, or you can have a property manager, which is what I would recommend because you don't get the calls. And then there's the agency that helps to, so an agency may talk to your property manager about moving someone in. Is that correct?
Sure.
And
Yeah.
we, as the owner, you're not paying the agency. The agency is actually paying you through the property manager. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Just want to make sure. So this is, I work with some people, doctors who want to own their own thing and they want to landlord it themselves. And I'm just like, I don't know if you want to do that. This sounds like a pain in the, no, not it sounds like it is a pain in the butt because I've done it before. Just like, right, you don't have to do that. Factor in managing a property manager into your pro forma so that you don't have to do that. And with this, you're not talking about that. I was thinking we were managing it ourselves, but no, you got a management company in between you and the agency, and they're taking care of all that. And the agency's taking care of all the things within the house for the resident that they place there.
Right. And I talk a lot about property management and how to work with property managers, what changes they need to consider making in the sense of the referral or the application and reference checks and various things, and what they don't. They're not going to qualify for past rent. Typically, they're not going to qualify for certain measures that a lot of
four times income, 4 times rent for income. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So let's just cut to the chase and see what we can do here to make it good for special needs adults.
What were you going to say, Randy?
Well, I think the only thing that the management companies typically insist on is a criminal background check. And, that's making sure that the agency, if they're cycling people in and out, then the property management company needs to know that. And so having that communication hey, we're moving this person out. They graduated. They're in a home by themselves now. Because some of them are doing that. They're creating that transition, and then now, for whatever reason, they're able to now get into another home. And we haven't had that happen, but we have students that have talked about that as well. And so that's part of getting enough training to where you understand the population, how to talk to the agencies. And having that, Janna teaches how to talk the language and the different types of disabilities and stuff, so that when you're talking to an agency, you're understanding what they're doing. And this is not rocket science. It's pretty straightforward and easy. There's a surprisingly high number of people that we have in our group that are both real estate investors, but so many of them also have a son or daughter who's with special needs too. So that's been really great, because the dialogue, that's what we're trying to do, is pair, the parent guardian and the understanding of that, so that you're comfortable with being able to just talk to the agencies. And she has oftentimes been that person between property management and the agency to be able to explain. As a real estate investor, she knows, hey, this is what the property manager is after. As a special needs parent, or as an agency, you want to do these things. Let's double check and make sure it's a reasonable accommodation. Those are keywords in this business if someone wants a modification of some kind. So she steps in to be able to help that. And that's all stuff that we have in the course too.
Do you guys, I'm going to talk about your course here in a moment. So with the property that we bought for sober living, we actually talked to Oxford House to find out what kind of properties they were looking for. You go that way, or you buy a property and then look for an agency, or you find an agency that you want to work with and find out what they're looking for? That's one question. And then, do most of your properties have more than one? Is it like a shared property, a community property where there are people renting bedrooms, or are they taking the whole property?
Good questions. Yeah. A lot of times what we've found is those who don't own properties that want to get into this, then they are out there talking with agencies, finding out what those needs are. Because the agencies need that. And the one thing you're offering them is stability. This is particularly the bigger, like say it's a group home environment. Say in Washington State, you can have 6 people, whether that's residential assisted living, whether that's a group home for special needs. 6 is the top. Whereas in Texas, well, what was it in Kansas City?
12.
12, yeah. And so there's special needs group homes in different states that are larger. So when you're talking to an agency, you basically find out what it is they need, what they want, and then put it together that way. So there's a variety of ways. What we find now is, because we work with the agency so much, we're also working with the property management company to ensure that when the agency is saying, hey, we're looking for a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house out there, Rambler, 1 level, let us know. And so next thing, some other owner has got that. And then Janna plays as that liaison person in between owner and management, and provides that kind of link in between. But for most people that are wanting to take this course, they can certainly do that. But more importantly, they can purchase the property and make sure the numbers work. And we have people that charge more, well more than market rents, and agencies that are willing to pay that. Other people that are they're fine with market rents. And then parents and guardians, if they don't want to negatively impact the SSI or SSDI checks, they can charge less than market rents because they own the property and they're just trying to house their son or daughter. So it's interesting, the different needs. You really just have to look at the needs and wants of the individual and the agencies and just work pairing that up.
So why should I take the course? If I own property, it sounds like I just need to find the agencies out there that do the thing. And like I can hear, I just know people and they're like, I don't need to take that course. And they'll go on your thing and see it costs $800 for what. It's so interesting to me how much people think a small amount of money is a big amount. So this investment to understand what you're doing is going to save you a lot of money, but that's neither here nor that's another conversation, right? Somebody who doesn't want to spend $800 to learn the right way to do the thing and speak the language and all those things. So let's say I'm not a real estate investor yet, and I want to invest, but I want to have this impact, and special needs is a thing that I'm interested in. maybe I have a child with special needs. What is this course going to give me? Why should I come talk to you guys? Just give me the pitch on why I should be there.
Sure. Well, it is. We have across a lot of people who have failed miserably at it because of their lack of knowledge and trying to be a DIY. We cover the special needs side thoroughly on the front side, so they understand the population, they understand how to talk to agencies, and not every agency is a good fit. That's the other big disaster that can be out there. Some of these people get audited, and there's all kinds of things that can go wrong with the wrong agency. So you want to find the ones that know what they're doing and have a track record and have been doing this correctly. And so she teaches all of that piece, and then we cover the real estate. I cover the real estate investing side. She does a couple of those lessons as well. So this is designed for the parent, guardian, or individual who doesn't have real estate investing skills. We teach that part in it, but we also cover, like I say, Janna, you cover all the government stuff that's out there, and
Right. And then ways to work with the property manager to get them to understand the differences in what is typical and what is the disability and what types of things they need to do. There's not any extra insurance or anything like that, but it is an art, and learning the language and understanding the process and different things that could be in place in order to make sure that there is success on all parts is a large portion of our course. And then, of course, we've got the mastermind group, and that's to come together and respond to where are the glitches, where are your hiccups, how can we help you within your community, and those kinds of activities.
Have you decided that you're ready to truly diversify your portfolio by investing in cash flowing real estate and businesses? Are you ready to have a positive social impact and aren't sure what to do next? Do you want to join other women doing the same thing and having fun? Check out Money with Mission Wealth Builders. Go to moneywithmission.com, click opportunities, and let us know you're ready.
Yeah, we do a lot of individual coaching within that mastermind group and believe me, it's challenging. We got people in the Washington, D.C. metro area, other people in Indianapolis, and so people in more rural settings, and they all have their challenges. We've got one person that Janna interviewed extensively that lives in Richland, Missouri. Well, that's out in the middle of farm country, and her daughter is severe. And how do you navigate this? And how do you make something work in that community? But the medical support, she's got to go to St. Louis or Kansas City to get the higher level, or Springfield. So it's really interesting hearing the different stories, and as a group, we're collectively solving a problem. And we don't have all the answers, but the course itself gets people the knowledge to stay out of trouble with it.
I mean, I think that's one of the bigger things about investing in general. It's not a lone sport. You want a network. You want people who've been there. There's no sense in you making the same mistakes Randy and Jan have made. It makes no sense. And they cost money. You're like, why make that mistake? Make a different mistake, because you can learn from somebody else. And it's so worth spending the money to learn somebody else's mistakes so that you don't have to make them. If that's the only reason you do it for that. But it's very, very important. And if you're already investing, you already got properties and you want to convert to something like this, you want to know how to talk to agencies. You have a property management team that knows how to put single families into your properties. There's a different skill set that's needed to talk to agencies and get special needs folks in your houses. So it's just, and if there's nothing else, just don't waste money, your own money, making mistakes that you could have learned from somebody else, and you didn't have to make that mistake. I lost hundreds of thousands of dollars making stupid mistakes. I don't want you to make the same stupid mistakes.
You all have. You look at the person, that's how we met you, where we were going to live events. I always make the crack up. And of course, when you're working with physicians, so many of them have these huge, and they talk about it. And I used to run into other college professors. Oh, my student debt is crushing me. And I'm sitting there going, I've spent more money going to live events that would pay for at least 4 or 5. I think I'm up to at least 5 doctorate degrees in the money that we've spent going getting these different things. learning how to not make these mistakes.
Learn how to not make mistakes, and then the paying for the mistakes I already made, you can mess up. So find people who've already done the thing you're wanting to do. You can learn from their mistakes, and you guys can make mistakes together that are probably less costly. And then the collaboration, Randy said, we don't have all the answers, but if you're in a group of people, somebody's going to be able to, you're going to come up with an answer. It just happens. It just happens anyway. So how do they find you guys?
Well, it's pretty easy. You can reach out to our website, which talks about our program and all the links to be able to get involved with that. And that's www.legacyinvestors.us. And I think we talked about that earlier. The .us is we're solving the special needs housing crisis in the U.S. So this works for anyone who lives in the United States. Actually, we've got some international students, but that's not our mission. Our mission's to start with the U.S. And so legacyinvestors.us, because all of us together can make a difference. And you can also email info@legacyinvestors.us.
And so I know most people are not sitting at their desk writing this down. It's in the show notes, just like we always do, you guys. It will be in the show notes. If this is something if you want to invest, have positive social impact, and this is a housing crisis subset, but we all know there's a housing crisis in the United States that should be solvable. It's unbelievable to me that we haven't solved this problem, and it's only because we can go, never mind. With problems not solved, and we can solve it. All the little niches of housing crisis can be solved. If this is the one that speaks to you, reach out to Randy and Janna, and let's get it done, you guys. Thank you guys so much for being here. I really, really appreciate it.
Well, thank you for having us.
And it's good to see you guys again.
Great to see you too. So, okay.
Rest you guys in Money Mission World. We're going to log off, and we're going to keep talking in the background. So talk to you guys later. All right.
You've been listening to Money with Mission. There are projects happening right now where you can have a great financial return while positively affecting the lives of others. To learn more about our opportunities, go to moneywithmission.com.